Hello, my name is Ronson and today I will be doing my ISP presentation on butterflies, moths, and the environment. So today in this presentation, I will be covering the general information of butterflies and moths, also known as the order Lepidoptera. Comparison between butterflies and moths, the behavior of lepidopterans, their ecological relationships with other living organisms, their importance to the environment and to humans, whether butterflies are more important than moths or the other way around, and then that will be the end of my presentation. So let's get started. Only recently has Lepidoptera become the main subject of ecological research, and already it has become a major and mysterious topic. A series of recent discoveries indicate that Lepidopterans have been present since the early Cretaceous period, which was 100 million to 130 million years ago. In this graph over here, we see the existence of Lepidopterans throughout history. Over here is a timeline that is measured in millions of years, and over here are some of the major families in the order Lepidoptera. As we can see here, the earliest Lepidopteran species known to us came into existence at the start of the Jurassic period. And as the Jurassic period progresses, butterflies and moths started to develop the coiled proboscis. A proboscis is basically the tongue of a butterfly, or moth, which the creature uses to drink nectar from flowers. These little white points over here indicate that fossils of butterflies and moths that have been found by scientists and ecologists came from the corresponding time period. The word Lepidoptera originated from the Latin word for scaled wing, which came from the combination of the ancient Greek word lepis, meaning scale, and pteron, meaning wing. Lepidoptera is one of the most successful insect orders in the world, with around 180,000 species in 126 families. Members can be found all over the planet with the exception of Antarctica, of course, and they can even be found on the bodies of other animals as parasites. Lepidopterans have played a huge role in the environment and in society throughout history, and today they are still an important part of all aspects of our world. Comparison of butterflies and moths. So, now let's look at the relationships between butterflies and moths. Being Lepidopterans in the same order, butterflies and moths do share specific, similar traits in structure and physical anatomy. What is unique among Lepidopterans is that their whole body, including the wings and the appendages or legs, are covered in extremely tiny overlapping scales which give the creatures a variety of colors and patterns. Like all insects, the body is made up of three main parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The head is where the proboscis, labial palps, compound eyes, and simple eyes, if there are any, as well as the antennae, are located. The thorax has 3 pairs of legs with feet that have special organs to allow the creature to taste and smell. A butterfly or moth has 2 pairs of wings, the forewings and hind wings. The forewings have more powerful flight muscles and a stronger vein structure. Therefore, they are more powerful when flying. The proboscis, labial palps, abdomen, and thorax are made up of fused segments, which give the body parts flexibility. All Lepidopterans are well known for going through full metamorphosis between the larval and adult stages of their lives. However, there are differences between butterflies and moths, both physical and behavioral. First, let's look at the butterfly. Butterflies have slender and smooth bodies and fine scales on their wings to absorb sunlight. They usually rest with their wings folded vertically above their backs, unless they are basking in the sun for short periods of time with their wings spread out to the sides. Butterflies have brightly colored wings usually, and their antennae are clubbed at the ends. Butterfly caterpillars create exposed chrysalises, and they have a special kind of compound eye, which gives the butterfly the ability to see in color vision and greater resolution. These are called the apposition compound eyes. Butterflies are diurnal, which means they're active during the day. Now, the moth. Moths are stout, stocky, and they have large scales on their wings that make the moths look furry, dense, and fluffy. This is important for moths because they need to conserve heat during the cold nights and stay hidden from predators. Large scales also help the moth absorb sound, and therefore they confound the echolocation of bats. Moths rest with their wings spread out to the sides or folded flat, and their wings have something that butterfly wings don't. In moths, their forewings have a fringe called a frenulum, as well as a series of loops that connect the forewings with the hind wings. Butterflies do not have this feature. Moths have plain colored wings for the purpose of camouflage, unless the species is toxic, and the antennae are feather-like. Moth caterpillars tend to create silk cocoons, which they sometimes camouflage with rocks and leaves and other natural debris. Moths have a special kind of compound eye called superposition compound eyes, which let moths see in low-light environments, but they come with the price of low resolution. Moths can be active during the night or the dusk. Behavior. Now, as we all know, flight is an important aspect of lepidopterans. Flight is enteromotoric, driven mainly by the forewings. Lepidopterans need a sufficiently high body temperature of 25 to 26 degrees Celsius to fly, and since the body temperature cannot be controlled, this often depends on the environment. In cooler climates, butterflies and moths use their wings to warm themselves. They bask in the sun for short periods of time to get maximum exposure to sunlight. Some moths may actually vibrate their wings to generate their own heat. In warmer climates, they are usually only active during the cooler parts of the day to avoid overheating, such as the evening. Since butterflies and moths need such specific conditions to fly, most species tend to migrate seasonally to escape disadvantageous conditions, such as dry seasons. There are more migratory butterflies than migratory moths, and the distance traveled by species varies. The monarch butterfly is a well-known example, flying 4,000 to 4,800 kilometers back and forth from Mexico to northern USA and southern Canada each year. As we see over here in this map, the journey south to Mexico spans one generation of monarch butterflies, but the journey back north spans several generations, or at least two, because the first generation of butterflies would have died halfway through the journey. Butterflies navigate using different landscapes and the position of the sun to determine the time of day, while moths navigate using the Earth's magnetic field and wind direction. Moths also use a special navigation technique called transverse orientation. So this is basically when moths maintain a constant angle between themselves and a celestial light, say the moon. The moon orbits around the Earth, so eventually it will change its position in the sky. And because this change is undetectable to moths, for the moth, the moon is usually just in the upper part of their visual field, or on the horizon. So when moths see an artificial light down below, they will use this light to orient themselves, and therefore they will fly towards and circle constantly around artificial lights. That's why we see moths like flying around and buzzing like near our windows during the night when our rooms are lighted, and street lamps, because they're actually trying to orient themselves and their flight according to the position of the artificial light. So, lepidopterans communicate with one another using special hormones called pheromones, which are detected with the antennae. They can also communicate by rubbing their body parts together to make sounds. Moths do that because they don't have the brightly colored wings of butterflies, so therefore they use sounds to communicate to each other. Butterflies, however, communicate by visual means. They use their brightly colored wings to send signals to other butterflies. So, here in this photo, we see the butterflies have specialized reflective scales around the white spots, which reflect blue light. It might not be clear to you over here, but it's true. So when these butterflies are in flight, each downstroke creates a flash of blue light which sends signals to other nearby butterflies of the same species. Most lepidopterans are solitary and may defend territories of their own, but these territories are usually only reproductive in purpose. So males would defend areas with greater chances of finding females or with suitable places for females to lay their eggs. Although, in some occasions, butterflies and moths may gather around and exhibit gregarious behavior. They may crowd together in their winter quarters, cluster on damp ground, or they will form community roosts during the night. Gregarious behavior usually occurs because individual butterflies have chosen a specific area that meets their individual needs, such as food and shelter. There is an advantage to this kind of behavior, and that is against predators. So, when a predator only wants to eat one butterfly, it will quickly become disoriented and confused by a group of butterflies flying in the air, and this usually results in the butterflies escaping because there's a chance they have to escape when the predator is confused. Okay, ecological relationships. Lepidopterans are important to the environment, and as we all know, and they are involved in many symbiotic and parasitic relationships with other living organisms, and many of these are highly specialized relationships between certain species. An example of this is the symbiosis between the large blue butterfly, over here, and the ant species Myrmica sabuleti. That's the scientific name. So basically what happens is the large blue butterfly larva, or caterpillar, gets taken into the nest of Myrmica sabuleti, and for the rest of its larval life, it gets raised by ants and eats ant grubs without the adult ants even objecting, because they can milk a sugary substance out of the larva and they can eat it. So basically what's happening is that the ants are sacrificing their own kids for food. So one may even say that this kind of relationship is parasitic. Anyway, the interaction between the larva and the ants is via pheromones. Lepidopterans may be subject to all kinds of parasitic organisms, though, such as wasps and flies. Not all lepidopterans, though, depend on flowers for food. Some species may feed on or supplement their diet with pollen, the juices of rotten, ripe, or unripe fruit, urine, feces or poop, decomposing bodies, sweat, tears, as you can see here. These butterflies are right now feeding on crocodile tears. There's even a species of moth that feeds on blood by piercing the skin of a mammal with its proboscis. Lepidopterans interact much with the flora of their ecosystems. However, these relationships often only benefit the butterfly species, so many plants will try to actively defend themselves against being eaten by caterpillars. Many plants use the traditional defense of toxins and repellent chemicals, although here is an unusual example. The passiflora plants, also known as passion flowers, they produce egg-like growths or otherwise fake eggs on their leaves, and this discourages butterflies of the Heliconius family from laying eggs on the leaf, because in the insect world or butterfly world, caterpillars can be carnivores or even cannibalistic. So, of course, a butterfly wouldn't want to lay eggs on a leaf with caterpillars that will eat their caterpillars. So, these butterflies will avoid leaves with eggs already on them. This is a Heliconius butterfly. So anyway, back to the toxins. So many plants use toxins and repellent chemicals to defend themselves. Although some larvae may find ways around this obstacle, some may even store toxins inside their bodies and later in life become poisonous themselves. For example, the milkweed is a poisonous plant, and yet it is a main food source of the caterpillar of the monarch butterfly. The monarch butterfly caterpillar stores the toxins of the milkweed inside its body, and right away it becomes poisonous. Although there are mutualistic relationships that benefit both the plant and butterfly, such as the yucca moth and the yucca plant relationship. So the yucca moth needs the plant to provide food and shelter for its larvae, and the yucca plant depends on only the yucca moth for pollination and reproduction. So this is a relationship in which there are two species that depend on each other only and not any other species to survive. So why are butterflies and moths important to the environment anyway? So this is because that butterflies and moths play an important role in pollination and maintaining healthy floral populations, although their role in pollination is not as big as the bees' role. They also support many predators and parasites, and if populations decline, this will negatively affect predators such as birds, which plan their whole breeding season according to the time when caterpillars will be most abundant. Not only can butterflies and moths impact the environment, but the environment can also impact butterflies and moths. So, first, butterflies and moths are sensitive to pesticides and toxins, and really butterflies and moths are sensitive to even the most minor changes in the environment. So, they're really delicate in all ways, so. Anyway, so habitat loss or fragmentation of habitat may cause species to move out of their native habitats. It may affect migration patterns. Migration patterns and timing may also be affected by temperature changes and climate change. It may also have an effect on metamorphosis and may cause some species of butterflies and moths to emerge from their pupae or chrysalises earlier in the spring than usual. The effects on butterflies and moths are different than those on migratory birds. So, in the end, the food chain will be disrupted and there will be mismatches between animals and their food sources. So now, why are they important to us humans? So many Lepidopteran species compete with humans for the enjoyment of resources. Since a caterpillar almost entirely eats plants, Lepidopterans are the most potentially damaging to crops, and they come in the way of farmers very much, and agriculture. So species formerly regarded as economically unimportant before have now become serious issues, moving from native vegetation to agricultural or forested areas. So an example would be the gypsy moth, which kills and damages thousands of deciduous trees each year. This species is subject to periodic explosions in the larval populations, and this means that trees can sometimes be damaged at an accelerated rate. It is an invasive species from Europe, and the damage in both Europe and North America each year caused by the gypsy moth is worth millions of dollars. So, here's the damage that a gypsy moth larva can cause to a deciduous tree. Ecological pest control methods such as pheromone traps or the introduction of natural predators and parasites to take care of the invasive species may be good eco-friendly methods of controlling pests and may be used in place of pesticides. Also, the larvae of some species have a form of hair that may contain toxins and cause serious injuries. Skin rashes are the most common symptom if you touch these kind of hairs, but there are cases of pink eye or even death. However, we do have some beneficial species of Lepidoptera, so like the silk moth, and many other moths too that spin silk cocoons. They can be made into silk, and then which can be made into fabrics and cloths. It's an important economic resource, and we depend on silk moths and other moths for it. Also, the larvae of some species can be used as like natural weed control, and they feature prominently as food items all around the world as well. In some countries, they're even considered delicacies. Lepidopterans have been a big part of art and culture as early as 3,500 years ago. Butterflies have been depicted in art, jewelry, decor, media, and have also inspired the appearance of the fairy. In many cultures, the soul of a dead person is associated with a butterfly. In ancient Greece, the word for butterfly, pronounced psyche, also means soul and breath. The skull-like marking on the death's head hawk moth gives these moths and other moths like it a negative reputation, such as associations with the supernatural and evil. Many butterflies are viewed as bad omens, but not always. In fact, in Japan there is a superstition that says that if a butterfly enters your guest room and perches behind the bamboo screen, that means the love of your life will be coming to visit you. So that's good. Anyway, also in Mayan and Aztec civilizations, butterflies are associated with fire and warfare, and scientists have actually found evidence of Mayan depictions of butterflies along with the jaws of a jaguar. So over here in this Mayan depiction, the butterfly is over here. You can see the wings over here. Now, let's continue. So in the end, which is more important, butterflies or moths? So as we've learned throughout this presentation already, they are big in pollination and maintaining healthy floral populations. They support the food chain and are food to many predators and parasites. However, there are 41 species known to us that are parasitic, and all 41 of them are moths. Also, there are caterpillars that are carnivorous or even cannibalistic, and they will go after eggs of other caterpillars, and also caterpillars of the same species. Moths actually have a role in decomposition of organic material, and they break down nutrients. While butterflies, if you see them eating poop and other weird stuff, they're just weird like that. Some species have developed weird eating habits, and that's why they do this. So, in the end, what we've learned is that even though moths are more important than butterflies in the environment, although being more destructive than butterflies, butterflies will always have a greater importance to our art and culture in human society. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening and watching, and I hope you learned a lot. Bye!